Beloved within the Adventist Church, beloved in the Seventh Adventist Church, this is a very urgent message called Talishness and a firm stance against the closed information for the Seventh Adventist Church leadership since March and April of 2019, this year, and a re-examination of David Gates and Arthur Brander's message. Here recently, I was at camp meeting here in South Central for the Sabbath service 2019, June 8th, 2019. And Abraham Jules got up to speak, and he talked about how when he did a tent effort in New York to preach sermons to the Adventist message, a man came into his tent every night, a drunkard. He preached for 7 weeks out there. And he talked about how this drunk man, toward the end of his messages, wanted to get baptized. And his elders told him not to baptize him because he still struggled with alcohol. And he still drunk alcohol. Now we know as Seventh-day Adventists that unless you're going to put away your sin, you should not get baptized, because the altar of sacrifice in the outer court comes before the laver, which is the washing for baptism. And this pastor, Abraham Jules, told the congregation that he baptized him while he was still drinking his alcohol. And then he said that he went over to his house because he invited him to eat over his house, the drunkard man. And he went into his house, and this is before he got married, the pastor before Abraham Jules got married. And he saw this man with a beautiful wife. And he said, "This man, his wife is so beautiful. I better start drinking alcohol myself," Abraham Jules said, "to get a beautiful wife like this drunk man got." So this man is not only endorsing men that drink alcohol to get baptized while struggling with alcohol, so drinking alcohol, but he wants to engage in this in himself to drink alcohol to get a pretty wife himself. So he's downplaying he's downplaying obedience, beloved in the Adventist Church. Great Controversy, Modern Revival, Sister White mentions that in modern revivals, they downplay obedience to God's law, they downplay victory over sin, they downplay sanctification, they downplay these reforms in the church, like health reform, they downplay these things. And now, look what Isaiah chapter 9, verse 11 to 15 and 16 says. "Therefore, the Lord shall shut up the adversaries of Rezin against him, and join his enemies together, the Syrians before, and the Philistines behind. And they shall devour Israel with open mouth, for all his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For people turneth not unto him that smiteth them, neither do they seek the Lord of hosts. Therefore the Lord will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rust in one day. The ancient and the honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that letted them are destroyed. Therefore the Lord shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall they have mercy in their fathers and widows. For everyone is a hypocrite and evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still." Now, beloved within the Adventist Church, it's a sad reality that the leaders of the Seventh-day Adventist membership, the people like Abraham Jules, who's an ordained evangelist, a pastor within the Adventist Church, he's an unpretentious Esau in these last days that is teaching lies and for doctrines the commandments of men. According to 2 Timothy chapter 4, it talks about the kind of ministry he's in. 2 Timothy chapter 4 talks about it. It says, "I charge you therefore before God and the Lord Jesus Christ, who shall judge the quick and the dead, at his appearing and at his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. For they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned into fables." So, beloved in the Adventist Church, they're heaping them to themselves people like Pastor Abraham Jules, who's teaching them fables because they have itching ears. And they're teaching them to drink alcohol, teaching them to support women's ordination like the Conference President Benjamin Jones, teaching them to believe in Sunday sacredness, like what Benjamin Jones and Pastor Stella is doing over here in the South Central Conference, teaching them to believe in jewelry and makeup and lipstick and dancing in church and drums, teaching them all these apostasy in the Advent Church, beloved. The ancient and the honorable, he is the head. Who is the ancient and honorable? The ancient and the honorable, those who teach a straight testimony. Those ministers amongst the Adventist Church who are not into ecumenical movement and women's ordination. Those ministers in the Adventist Church who are telling them that it's wrong to break the Sabbath, wrong to not take care of the health message and drink alcohol and smoke and eat meat and dairy products. Those ministers like that who teach a straight testimony. That's the ancient honor. The prophet teaches lies. He is a tell to those like Abraham Jules said it's okay to drink alcohol, who say it's okay to dance in church, say it's okay to eat meat, who say it's okay to practice women's ordination, who say it's okay to practice all kind of apostasy coming into church today. That's the tale, beloved, in the Adventist Church. You see what they're saying against the ancient honorable, like Pastor David Gates and Pastor Arthur Brand, who's saying that the probation is closed on a leadership like them. They're saying that they're saying gotcha theology, or they're saying they're time setting. That's what they're saying about that's what they're saying about Arthur Brown and David Gates, and they're time setting. When we see that it's the Pentecost time right now, as of tomorrow on Sunday, probably even on Tuesday of next week, because the moon is in Israel right now, and so. On Tuesday is according to the Pentecost when the moon sets in Israel. So we see it's a sad thing because they're saying people like Arthur Brand and David Gates are time setters, yet they're bringing in false shepherds to preach on Adventist pulpits that are Adventist ministers that are going down for not practicing health reform by drinking alcohol. And you see all the immodest dress, all the worldly music, all of the new theology. The man came up to sing before the pastor spoke today, and he spoke with a worldly song, a very worldly song called Nobody Greater Than You. And all the crowd was dancing and loud and gyrating the hips, and the worldly music was piping through the song chorister. Beloved, they were retreating back to Egypt. Let me read to you a statement here in Testimony to the Church, Volume 5. It talks about the seal of God and who will get the seal of God in his last days and who won't get the seal of God amongst the faithful of Israel. This is Testament to the Church, Volume 5, page 210 and 211. It says, "The class who do not feel grieved over their own spiritual declension, nor mourn over the sins of others, will be left without the seal of God. The Lord commissions his messengers, the men with slaughter weapons in their hands. Go ye after them through the city, and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Say, utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin in my sanctuary. And then begin the ancient men which were before the house." Here we see that the church, Lord's sanctuary, was the first for the stroke of God and wrath of God. The ancient men, those to whom God had given great light and who had betrayed their trust. They had taken the position that we need not look for the miracles and marked manifestation of God's power as in former days. Times have changed. These words strengthen they had taken the position that we need not look for miracles and the marked manifestation of God's powers in former days. Times have changed. These words strengthen their unbelief, and they say, "The Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. He is too merciful to visit his people in judgment. Thus peace and safety is a cry from men who will never again lift up the voice of a trumpet to show God's people their transgressions and the house of Jacob their sins. These dumb dogs that will not bark are the ones who feel the just vengeance and offended God. Men, maidens, and little children all perish together." Now, beloved, this same minister was saying, you think you're too holy than us. You think you're holier than thou. You people that are part of the church today, you're against drinking, you're against smoking, you're against dancing, you're against all this stuff like that. And you don't know, and you have struggles yourself, beloved. He's downplaying righteousness, he's downplaying the sanctification, he's downplaying righteousness, he's downplaying righteousness is right doing, he's downplaying obedience, he's downplaying victory over sin, he's downplaying standards, and he's taking up and he's holding up the hand of the son of Zion, and a Babylonian torch is coming out of his mouth. Testimony to ministers says a Babylonian torch will come out of the mouth of these ministers, beloved. Pray, fast, overcome sin, get ready for these last days, Maranatha.